Huh? All right, I'll finish it. Stave 5, the end of it. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. The best and the happiest of all, the time before him was his own. To make amends in, I will live in the past and present and the future, said Scrooge, as he scrambled out of his bed. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. O Jacob Marley, heaven in the Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, old Jacob, on my knees. He was so flustered and fluttered and so glowing with his own good intentions that his broken voice would scarcely answer to his call. He had been sobbing violently in his conflict with the spirit, and his face was wet with tears. They are not torn down, cried Scrooge, folding one of his bed curtains in his arms. They are not torn down, rings and all. They are here. I am here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will. His hands were busy with his garments all this time, turning them inside out, putting them on upside down, tearing them, mislaying them, making them parties to every kind of extravagance. I don't know what to do, cried Scrooge, laughing and crying at the same breath, making a perfect lagoon of himself with his stockings. I am as light as a feather, I am merry as an angel, happy as an angel, and I am merry as a schoolboy. I am giddy as a drunken man. A Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year to all the world. Hello there. Whoop, hello. He had frisked into his sitting room and now was standing there perfectly winded. There, the saucepan that was gruel in, cried Scrooge, starting off again, going around the fireplace. There's the door by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered. There's a corner in which the ghost of Christmas present sat. There's the window where I saw the wandering spirits. It's all right. It's all true. It all happened. Ha ha ha. Really, for a man who had been out of practice for so many years, it was a splendid laugh, a most illustrious laugh. The father of a long, long line of brilliant laughs. I don't know what a day of the month it is, said Scrooge. I don't know how long I've been among the spirits. I don't know anything. I'm quite a baby. Never mind, I don't care. I'd rather be a baby. Hello, whoop, hello there. He was checked in his transports by the churches, bringing out the luscious peals he had ever heard. Clash, clang, hammer, ding dong, bell, bell dong, hammer, hing, clish, clash, clang. Oh, glorious, glorious. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist, clear, bright, jovial, stirring cold. Cold piping for the blood to dance to. Golden sunlight, heavenly sky, sweet fresh air, merry bells. Oh, glorious, glorious. What's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes who perhaps had loitered in to look about him. Eh? Returned the boy, with all his might and wonder. What's today, my fine fellow? Said Scrooge. Today? Why, Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, said Scrooge to himself. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello, returned the boy. Do you know the poulterers in the next street, but one at the corner? Scrooge inquired. I should hope I did, replied the lad. Oh, intelligent boy, said Scrooge. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they've sold that prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, but the big one? What, the one as big as me? Returned the boy. What a delightful boy, said Scrooge. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck. It's hanging there now, replied the boy. Is it? Said Scrooge. Go and buy it. Walker, exclaimed the boy. No, no, said Scrooge. I am in earnest. Go and buy it. Tell them to bring it here, that I may give them the direction where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with them in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. He must have had a steady hand at the trigger. Who could have got a shot off that fast? I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's, whispered Scrooge, rubbing his hands, splitting with a laugh. You shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Joe Miller never made such a joke as sending it to Bob Swilby. The hand in which he wrote the address was not a steady one, but write it he did. Somehow he went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the poulterer's man. As he stood there waiting for his rival, the knocker caught his eye. I shall love it as long as I live, cried Scrooge, patting it with his hand. I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has in its face. It's a wonderful knocker. Here's the turkey. Hello. How are you? Merry Christmas. It was a turkey. He could never have stood upon its legs, that bird. He would have snapped them short off a minute, like sticks of sealing wax. Why, it's impossible to carry that to Camden Town, said Scrooge. You must have a cab. The chuckle which he said this, and the chuckle which he paid for the turkey, and the chuckle with which he paid for the cab, and the chuckle with which he recompensed the boy, were only to be exceeded by the chuckle with which he sat down, breathless in his chair again, chuckled till he cried. Shaving was not an easy task, for his hand continued to shake very much, and shaving requires attention, even when you don't dance while you are at it. But if he had cut the end of his nose off, he would have put a piece of sticking plaster over it, and it would have been quite satisfied. He distressed himself all in his best, and at last got into the streets. The people this time were pouring forth, and he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present. When walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded every one with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant. In a word, the 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, sir. A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge often said afterwards that he had all the blithe sounds he had ever heard. Those were the blithest in his ears. He had not gone far when come towards him. He upheld a portly gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before and said, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe." It sent a pang across his heart to think how this old gentleman would look upon him when they met, but he knew what path lay before him, and he took it. "My dear sir," said Scrooge, quickening his pace and taking the old gentleman by both hands, "how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir." "Mr. Scrooge?" "Yes," said Scrooge, "that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon. And will you have the goodness here?" Scrooge whispered in his ear. "Lord bless me," cried the gentleman, as if his breath was taken away. "My dear Scrooge, are you serious?" "If you please," said Scrooge, "not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?" "My dear sir," said the other, shaking hands with him, "I don't know what to say. Such minute." "Don't say anything, please," retorted Scrooge. "Come and see me. Will you come and see me?" "I will," cried the old gentleman, and it was clear he meant to do it. "Thank you," said Scrooge. "I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you." He went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro, and patted children on the head, questioned beggars, and looked down into the kitchens of houses, and up their windows and found everything he could to yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that anything could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and he did it. "Is your master at home, my dear?" said Scrooge to the girl. "Nice girl, very." "Yes, sir." "Where is he, my love?" said Scrooge. "He's in the dining room along with the mistress. I'll show you upstairs if you please." "Thank'ee. He knows me," said Scrooge, with his hand already on the dining room lock. "I'll go in there, my dear." He turned gently, sidled his face in round the door. They were looking at the table, which was spread out in a great array, for these young housekeepers are always nervous in such points and like to see that everything is right. "Fred," said Scrooge. Dear heart alive, how his niece by marriage startled. Scrooge had forgotten for a moment about her sitting in the corner with the footstool. He wouldn't have done it on any account. "Why, bless my soul," cried Fred. "Who's that?" "It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?" "Let him in." It is a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did the plump sister when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office the next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late, there was a thing he had his heart upon. And he did it, yes he did. The clock struck 9, no Bob. 1/4 past, no Bob. He was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with the door open that he might see him come into the tank. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he was trying to overtake 9 o'clock. "Hello," growled Scrooge in his accustomed voice, as near as he could feign it. "What do you mean coming over here this time of a day?" "I'm very sorry, sir. I'm behind my time." "You are?" repeated Scrooge. "Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please." "It's only once a year, sir," pleaded Bob, appearing from the tank. "It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir." "Now I tell you what, my friend," said Scrooge. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore," he continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob such a dig in his waistcoat that he staggered back into the tank again, "and therefore I'm about to raise your salary." Bob trembled and got a little nearer to the roller. He had momentarily the idea of knocking Scrooge down with it, holding him and calling to the people in the court for help in his strait waistcoat. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge with an earnestness that could not be mistaken as he clapped him on the back. "A Merry Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle for you. Another eye. Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more, and to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good as a friend, as a master, and as good man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or old borough, or in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let 'em laugh, and little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their fill of laughter in the outset, knowing that such as these would blind anyway. He thought it quite as well that they should wrinkle up their eyes and grins as they milady in less attractive forms. His own heart laughed, and it was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If any man alive possessed the knowledge, may that truly be said of all of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.
Thanks so much, Betty. I'm not feeling greedy anymore.
You're welcome. Now, what'd you get me for Christmas?